is going on, everybody? Welcome to the fourth episode of the Wash Kings podcast, the show where a couple of cousins talk hoops, the NBA, and keep you updated on everything you need to know about your Denver Nuggets. I'm your host, Cam Kennedy, here in Denver, Colorado, and I am joined by my fellow Wash Kings, as always, Pat Kennedy, who is pumped to be a Duke fan right now, and Kennedy Phillips, who's doing the Lord's work as a high school teacher, coaching freshman baseball. We all know you work hard, man. Fellas, how's everybody doing?
Doing good. Duke's in the Final Four. I just copped this shirt today.
Nice.
We're doing it. It's our year.
I love how Pat's talking about Duke like it's a we thing now.
It's his team, man.
I guess so.
It is.
I guess so. Things are good here.
When is that your thing, Pat?
Good. Well, we're also joined by super producer Matthew Hannon, who's with me in Denver, Colorado. But Matt will also be filling in for Evan Kennedy, who is still on his European tour in Croatia right now. Looks gorgeous. He sent us a few photos. I don't know if he's ever going to come back at this point. But Matt, thank you for filling in today. Matt, how's it going?
It's going good. Yeah, it's going good. Just kind of holding down the fort over here, waiting for Ev-Dog to come back. But who knows? I think he might send in his 2 weeks, man. I think he's done.
I'm kind of expecting that email. Yeah.
Gonna have to start reporting to us about Croatian basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's putting it all on the company card, I guess. Well, Pat's also going to be leaving us too after segment one, so thank you, Matt, for filling in. Guys, we got the Final Four coming up. I know we just briefly talked about it with Duke. All number one seeds. Isn't that crazy? Who do you guys think is going to win it? I know Pat's probably going with Duke. I'm probably going to go with Duke as well, but
I don't know. I got I think Auburn winning one of my brackets. That's the one that we're all in, and I need them to win. But even then, I don't think I have a chance of winning it. But I feel like Duke's kind of a favorite right now, and so is Florida. They look pretty good.
I mean, honestly, this Duke team, I really don't see a world where they don't win it. They're just so stacked.
dude, like
Yeah.
I
would say either that.
I was looking at a mock draft of Duke. They have 6 guys that are mocked to be drafted in the first 2 rounds, 3 in the top 10. So, I mean, they just all around. They have a full starting 5 and a 6-man that are going to be drafted this year's draft. So, I got to go with Duke as well.
Guess we'll see.
But I guess we'll see, right? Just a reminder, because you all care so much, but the Wash Kings are not a sponsored podcast yet, but we're always going to shout out Dude Wipes because it's the best clean, pants down. Some free promo for you all at Dude Wipes. Our DMs are always open, so let us know. We got a great show for you guys this week, as always. And segment 1, we're going to go over this past week of games for the Nuggets, who went 2-1 with wins against the very injured Milwaukee Bucks and the tanking Utah Jazz. And they lost to the red-hot Chicago Bulls last Monday. In segment 2, I want to talk about my experience and trip to Oklahoma City this past weekend with my dad, where we saw the Thunder blow out the Pacers, and I really want to talk about what that environment felt like and just what the fan base felt like and everything there that was going on with that and how special that feels as a fan and what they're going through. But we're also going to be talking about our top 5 contenders to come out of the Western Conference playoffs this year and see where we all have the Nuggets ranked in that. And finally, we're going to take a look ahead with 7 games left in the season and a big week of games coming up for the Nuggets to close out the show. So, fellas, let's just jump into it. Let's take a look at this past week. We had that loss to Chicago last week. We lost 129-119. They played without Jokic. That was the last game without Jokic. The Bulls pulled away in the fourth quarter. The Bulls have been hot lately, 9-3 since March 6th. So that's a 12-game span of really good basketball for them. So it's not really a terrible loss with that context and understanding all of that. But is there any guys? Do you have any key takeaways from that Bulls game? It's kind of sort of a throwaway one, but anything to come out of that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jokic wasn't playing, but I mean, that Bulls team I feel like always matches up well with us, even when we do have Jokic. They're just a pesky team all around. Like you said, they're heating up. Guys like Kobe White and Josh Giddey, they're legit, man.
I feel like they got some younger guys that got something to prove, especially with Giddey trying to find his own after being traded from OKC. But, I mean, I don't watch a ton of Bulls games, but I feel like I check in on him here and there on League Pass. And it seems like they always rise to the occasion against good teams, and they just push the pace really well. And I think the Nuggets just kind of got a little run out, and then obviously not having Yokes, a tough situation to be in. But I was pretty upset when it first happened, and then I got over it pretty quickly. but just need them to move on from it, which they seem to do.
Yeah, any thoughts from that game, Matt, or just sort of, Peyton Watson had a career high 24 points. That was a mark from that game. They're going to need him, so that was good to see. But
yeah, I don't have anything too crazy. They're a pesky team, and when Peyton Watson has a career high 24 points, from a Nuggets perspective, you're not healthy. I mean, you don't have all your guys there, so yeah. It's kind of one that you can tip your hat to the Bulls. I mean, they're actually playing some pretty great basketball for
on fire,
for
man.
a younger team that has a lot to prove, and a lot of guys don't. A lot of people that are either just casuals or fans of the NBA don't really. I feel like haven't really seen a whole lot out of this team this past year, and they've kind of caught fire, which is really cool to see. So from a beaten up Nuggets perspective, you kind of just got to tip your cap and move on.
For sure. And then they had the crazy win over the Lakers a few nights after that, which was wild. But moving on, looking at the win over Milwaukee, they were missing Dame and Giannis. Dame's going to be out likely for the season with blood clots, which is a huge blow for Milwaukee. But Jokic, that was the game he came back. He dominated, shaking off the rust for him. Looked like 39 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists on 64% from the field. And I was encouraged that Jokic came back when he did, because we weren't too sure, or we weren't too sure when he was going to come back, but he needs just one more game to qualify for the All-NBA voting and MVP voting and stuff, which is good to see. So I'm glad that Jokic is back. Michael Porter Jr. went 6 of 8 from 3 in that game, finished with 23 points, which was funny because Michael Porter that day was listed as questionable with a back strain, and then that night he played lights out and started to hit his shots. So that was really nice to see. Any thoughts from the win over Milwaukee?
Yeah, man. Jokic obviously returned after missing 5 games, and he looked like he didn't miss a step. I mean, he finished 39, 10, and 10, his 30th triple-double of the season, which is a career high, and as well as a franchise high, which he broke from the year prior. And so, I mean, he's just racking up these accolades. And then another thing, too, we were really worried about MPJ last week. He started up on fire, 14 points in the first quarter, 4 for 4 from 3 to start. And then finished with 23, 10, and 4. And so it was a huge bounce back game from him. And so that was probably my biggest takeaway from that game was MPJ's back.
Yeah, I had two kind of not challenges, but one of the things we talked about with Mike was, can he be a 15-point, 20-point scorer? Came out and did that, and I think the 10 rebounds was really good to see as well, him active on the glass. I was a little interested when I saw him on that injury report, but he seemed to be moving around just fine. Little bit of not concern, but I feel like Mike sometimes is just streaky, and he'll have a really good half and then kind of just go dark. But he ended up hitting a really big shot in the fourth quarter, kind of a dagger. Not necessarily a game in which the Nuggets should have been really tight in, but it was still good to see them kind of pull that out. And then on the other hand, I did predict that Yoke would have 36, 10, and 12, but almost had it. First game back, shameless plug to last pod. But
Hat tip for Ken.
That was a crazy ass pull, dude.
I just he just does those things, man. I don't know. It's he's one of those guys, and it's funny because I saw like a Sports Center post about him putting up that stat line that night, and everyone's commenting MVP, and I'm just like, this is literally like what he averages. He averages 30, 10, and 10. Maybe more rebounds than 10, but like this is like an average night for him. That's what they were saying during the Nuggets game, and I was like, oh man, they're right. Like this is a casual night for Yoke.
That's why I think it's funny. I mean, he just, after missing 5 games, he just jumped right back into the form he was in before, which is incredible. GOAT things.
Most guys got to shake off rust, and he does that. Matt, what'd you think of that win against Milwaukee?
I'm gonna have a different takeaway than you guys because I think everybody and everybody's focused on Jokic and the fact that MPJ is kind of caught his his win again in that game. I'm gonna focus on a stat that I think is needed when we get to the playoffs. Peyton Watson was a plus 15, and he played 34 minutes. He had 12 points as a plus 15. 3 blocks, 2 assists, 7 rebounds.
Great point.
All-time showing, I think, in a run for Peyton Watson, in a run for the playoffs, for P. Watt, and I think we need that. And he had, I mean, those 3 blocks were huge in kind of controlling the pace of the game and making sure that the Nuggets stayed on offense. And I think that's something that is going to need to happen going forward into the playoffs for sure.
Great point. I'm glad you called that out because Peyton Watson's been playing some of his best ball, honestly, this in this little stretch here, which is really important for them, for the Nuggets looking forward, because they're going to need to rely on him coming off the bench and being someone that you can throw out there. He's our best chance at defending some of these high-level guys in the playoffs too. You mentioned the blocks. Like, it's funny because he's not really like a lockdown, like stay in front of you kind of defender. He's more like, I'm going to recover and then just block your shot at the rim. He's also really good at blocking those 3-pointers when he's closing out hard and he gets a fingertip on it. But I'm glad you called out Peyton Watson there because that's a good point. Let's look real quick at the Jazz one. Great blowout, 129-93. Jokic hit the 62-foot, one-handed, one-footed Euro step floater at the buzzer to end the first half. Just an interesting stat. He's 2 for 20 on heaves this season, which is pretty solid. I think he has 2, the most in the NBA. The second guy that's attempted the most heaves in the league this year is Mikal Bridges, who's attempted 11. So Jokic loves that shot. It's really cool to see him make 2 of those, all within like a month and a half of each other. But honestly, the Jazz are just clearly tanking for Cooper Flag, your boy Cooper Flag, Pat. And P. Watt started in place of Jamal in that game. I thought that was an interesting lineup move, but it also bodes to that confidence that we're talking about for P. Watt. But what were your guys' takeaways from that Jazz game? I know it was kind of a blowout. It was good to just see them blow out a team, honestly. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, my biggest takeaway from that Utah game is games early on this season, or for a majority of the season, that were supposed to blow out never usually end in a blowout, and it usually ends up being a close game. And I saw that firsthand. In Charlotte at one point this season. Somehow we ended up pulling out in that game. But this was a game that we were supposed to blow out, and we did it, man. And especially with Jamal out, I think it was really, really good to see the boys pull through.
I think that it was kind of, I don't know, it was nice to see the Nuggets playing Nuggets basketball again. And I know that's against the Jazz, so I don't want to get too excited. But it was really cool to see just them having fun, like them cutting to the bench in the fourth quarter when guys like, Trey Alexander are in the game getting buckets and Hunter Tyson hitting some threes. And obviously that's going to come with a blowout. But I feel like I haven't seen the Nuggets having fun. Ball's not been popping. That's not been something we've been talking about. And it seemed to be just everyone kind of getting their fair share in that game. Again, I like that comment you made, Cam, about P. Watt being in the starting lineup. I thought that was really interesting. He's a guy that you give him 20, 30 minutes a night, he's going to, probably put up 8 to 12. And the defensive presence that he brings is something that the Nuggets just don't really have. Watching an interview with Michael Malone after that game, he was just kind of talking about both DJ and Peyton Watson kind of being rim protectors, and that's something that the Nuggets don't really have. And obviously this is against the Jazz, who are, trying to capture the flag a little bit, as I think Scott Hastings said during the game. But
the main event.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, he's got some good nickname possibilities.
He's got some
there.
really good nicknames.
And he's gonna be a stud. But yeah, it was good to see them having fun. I think that my favorite part of that night was the obviously the Euro step was great. When Yoke hit that little like pump fake, lean into him, and then just one of those little overhead chucks it, and he banks it in. And that's the first time I've seen that dude smile on the court in months. So he's like, I finally got one, because he's always trying that. He never gets the call, and even when he does, he doesn't make them. So it was good to see them having fun, having some smiles on the court. So good vibes. Nuggets needed some of that, and I think especially before they head into this matchup tomorrow night against Minnesota.
Yeah, I think another big piece of that game too is MPJ with another 20-point game. He finished with 20 points, 7 of 10 field goal, and 4 for 7 from 3-point range. So it's good to see him starting to pick up. making more threes more consistently. I know he's usually, I mean, we were talking last week, he's only making one, lucky if he's making 2 threes in a game. And so far this week, I mean, he's picking that back up, making 3-4 a game, which is really great to see.
And we're back, segment 2. Had some technical difficulties, continue to have technical difficulties, but that's all right. We're figuring it out. So I wanted to talk about, I went on this trip this past weekend to Oklahoma City with my dad to see the Thunder play Saturday night against the Indiana Pacers. They blew them out, and it was a good time. It was fun to just kind of be in a different city. I've never been there before. But specifically with this trip, what it showed me was that this team, this fan base, they're hungry. And the energy is there. The energy was in the building. This fan base was really cool. Like, honestly, to be an outside perspective, being a fan of a different team, let alone a rival, to come in there, felt really interesting to kind of get a view of. Like, their stats would be popping up on the Jumbotron before the game, and it would be like points per game leader, steals per game leader, blah, 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 Thunder stuff. Every time that they were at the top of one of those things or in the top 5, the whole crowd just cheered, and this was before the game. And it was just really interesting to be there and be an outside perspective and seeing that. And it reminded me a lot about what Denver felt like in 2023, where it was just the team was hungry. The fan base was hungry, ready to get that first title. And you can tell that's happening with Oklahoma City right now. And I hate that it's happening to them because they're a rival and everything. But I honestly respect it. And it was kind of cool to see that, because the Nuggets are in this weird spot now where they don't feel as hungry. The fan base probably has a little, we're a little bit more on edge now because we want to keep going. We don't want to waste Jokic's prime. But this group and this fan base is just like, we're here. We're ready to take this year. And so I just wanted to bring that up and kind of give it to you guys to say, reflect a little bit on what that was like being a fan in Denver in 2023. And if maybe the Nuggets can, recapture some of that for you, or, maybe some thoughts on how OKC fans are feeling right now too. So that's what I wanted to talk about really with that trip.
Yeah, man, that's really cool. And it is always really cool to visit a new stadium. And I kind of felt a little bit of those same feelings of, it's just cool to be in a different environment. I felt that when I visited Charlotte earlier this year. But yeah, it just going back, it's kind of get the nostalgic feeling of like 2019 all the way to 2023 and 2020 in the bubble, even when you're getting really excited about your favorite team actually being competitive and getting talked about here on ESPN, and like really competing against teams that have been dogs in these recent years. And yeah, I mean, I do miss those feelings. And now that we've won a championship, I mean, you kind of forget about some of those old feelings on the come up.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like Pat's point about kind of the Nuggets come up there. And I think OKC shares that kind of mentality we were having a couple years ago, and they don't have a championship. Mark me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they don't.
The Sonics did in '79, so same franchise, but yeah, they don't OKC.
But I mean, in our lifetimes in OKC, I mean, they've had some perennial all-stars that have come through that franchise, and they've come close. They've made finals, and I think that they had 5-10 years in which things were not consistent. They had the CP3 years with some Melo mixed in and some Paul George, and then they go out and make this just blockbuster trade, which we all thought, they're just getting picks out of it, but they end up getting SGA from the Clippers. And I mean, it's just an exciting time, and it's scary as an NBA fan when you're not a fan of them, because they're just going to keep getting better. I saw a graphic the other day that they still have like a small chance to get the number 1 pick, I believe, with some of those picks that they have. I forget how it works out.
The Sixers pick, if it is past a certain point, it actually goes to OKC again. Yeah,
it's crazy, and it's just like, what a time to be an OKC fan. So a little jealous just because of how bright their future really is. But I bet super cool that you could be there. I don't think I've ever been to a NBA stadium that's not a Nuggets game, so definitely need to knock that one off my list. But I can't imagine.
You should, man.
And everything you've ever heard about OKC is their fans are pretty crazy. So, yeah.
Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Oklahoma City from a bus window playing baseball, driving through. But no, man, they're a team that, and we've said it before, they're on the come up, and they're hungry, they're young. Um, in regards to kind of seeing that again from the Nuggets, I don't know if we do. I don't know if we have those nostalgic feelings anymore. I think, even if we get to another championship, those feelings kind of go to all right, here we go, here we go again. Implying and saying that word again is we've already been there. And it's kind of, I kind of want to put it to that relationship that you have, your first real relationship where you're like, oh man, this is crazy. In the first 2 months you're just like so in love, and then something happens, and then you kind of plateau from there, right? That incline kind of starts plateauing or even going down. And as far as we see from Jokic, it's like we have the best player in the world at the moment, and I think stupidly a lot of Nuggets fans take that for granted, watching him every day. And it's hard when you are watching him every day to be like, yo, this guy's special because he is pulling 64-foot opposite free throw line, Euro step, water polo shots. Like, that's wild and crazy, but he does it. And, it after a while, you're like, yeah, I mean, that's Jokic. And, you know, it's something that I think Nuggets fans have lost that feeling, and who knows if we get it back, or if we get it back in the same kind of regard.
Matt, you bring up something with that. It's like I have people from that I work with, and they'll send me like a Sports Center highlight to via text, or shoot me an Instagram DM of Jokic highlights, whether it was like the look away pass that he hit or that 3/4 court shot, and they're just like, this guy's unbelievable. And I'm like, yeah, we've known this.
Like, I know.
It's so funny.
It's-
Christian, I don't know if you guys watched, but I watched all the way through on the altitude coverage the other night. After that no look pass, they had Christian Brown on there to do some post game interview, and Christian Brown with a straight face was like, he told Chris Dempsey, I think he was like, I'm not impressed. That's not the coolest
Not
thing.
surprised, I'm
Jokic
sure.
do. And he had no, like, I mean, Christian's, straight faced kind of guy, and he has, in an interview, he doesn't show a lot of emotion. He had no emotion. He was like, oh, he was like, I don't care. He was like, it's Jokic.
Yeah, I that's a good point, Matt. I don't think the Nuggets players that see him every day are fazed by anything he does. But you also did bring up another good point of, I don't know if you can ever replicate that same feeling as it was going for that first title. And I think we see it all the time when teams win a title. We saw it last year. Your hunger and drive for it just isn't the same. Like it, and I'm hoping that that's worn off for them now, and that they get back to that this postseason. But it's just incredibly like fragile and how quick that can go. And OKC, it's always fun to see another team kind of experience that, even if it's like a rival. But those fans should enjoy it now and stuff, because you never know if you even can get a title. There's a lot of luck that's involved with that. So I think they'll win it. Probably that would probably be my pick. But they've got a lot of exciting and fun things going on there. Pat, I know you're about to head out here soon. Any closing thoughts on just anything we've talked about or whatever?
Yeah, I'm really glad that we're having this discussion of these types of feelings you have as your team's on the come up. I know us Cubbies fans, sorry Matt, he's a Cardinals fan, but before 2016, I mean, you have these same vibes, and then once you get that championship, like every year that you don't win a championship after that, it's a bad year. And so I feel like as Nuggets fans, and Matt kind of pointed to it earlier with Jokic, I mean, we really got to appreciate these times, even this year, the years that we're not. I mean, Jokic is in his prime and he's still getting better. It kind of reminds me of that clip from The Office, and the last episode, and Andy Bernard says I wish there was a way to know that you were in the good old days before you've actually left them. And so, well,
Dude,
good timing with that. But
it's making me tear up, dog.
I
It's a
know.
good point, though.
We really got to appreciate these times.
Yeah, you're right.
Totally, dude. Yeah, I mean, enjoy it. Enjoy every single game, every single second you can of having Jokic in this current iteration. We'll see what they do in the playoffs, but all I'm thankful for and happy for is that we have Jokic in his prime and that we're going to get him, knock on wood, healthy and see what they can do this year and so forth. So thank you, Pat. We appreciate you, man. Enjoy the rest of the time with your family. Say hi to TK and Joan for us.
I will. Be good, be safe. Go Duke. Go Nuggets. All right, boys.
Go Blue.
Cheers.
Go Blue Devils. See
Yep.
you, man.
Later.
Later, Pat. PK, it's always good to have PK. I'm glad we can have at least 3 of us, though, continue to the rest of the show. Hopefully no Wi-Fi issues. Seems like we're doing okay right now.
We've been
And so we call this the
Wi-Fi issues.
call this the 3-man weave.
The 3-man weave now with Bear, super producer Matt, and CK.
Love it.
New segment. Okay, guys. I asked y'all to prepare 5 teams, your top 5 teams that you think will come out of the Western Conference. Basically just like a ranking, like who you can see coming out in the end, and we'll just do 5 of them. We don't have to spend a ton of time on each, but I'll start with my 5th. This might be disrespectful, but I left out the Houston Rockets. I don't know what your guys' list looks like. I have the Timberwolves at 5 because I can just see Ant is special. They have a top 10 defense and offense this season. I don't trust Julius Randle. That's why I have him at 5, and they've had like kind of a weird up and down year. They're kind of figuring it out now, but their seeding might be an issue as well because they're going to play tough teams ahead. But number 5 was the Timberwolves. I don't know if you guys had the Timberwolves on your list or who else is your guys' number 5?
For my 5, I had, let me find it real quick. I forget what it was. I think it was actually Golden State.
Okay.
I've been kind of going through teams that I feel can compete, and I don't know, something about Curry in playoffs is always scary. I know he's older now, and I think it's just a different dynamic, but they're battle tested, and I feel like, was it 3 years ago before the Nuggets won it, 2022, when they beat Boston? It was like, Warriors are old, they're washed up, and I know it is a couple years later, but I think they're still dangerous. I did have Minnesota in my top 5, but I had them a little bit higher up. So, but that's what I had for my 5.
We'll get to them when we get to that number. But Matt, who was your 5?
Yeah, I also had Golden State sneaking in there, and kind of eerily same as Ken, just because it's a new group, but it's also kind of anchored by some of those older guys and Curry and
Jimmy, Draymond, battle tested.
Those 3 guys are, and I think Jimmy's he still has a bad taste in his mouth, I think, from what the Nuggets did to him in the finals. And I think if I were Jimmy, I would be kind of feeling the same, feeling that kind of not necessarily pressure, but I think I would be feeling that added want and fire to go get it. And I think they've got that, but they also have a good amount of young guys that can also kind of step up to the plate. And I kind of have them sneaking in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got them at 4, so we'll go into our 4th now. But I had Golden State at 4, so I put them just a little bit higher than you guys. But similar to what you guys are saying, the battle tested, proven, Curry, Steve Kerr, Draymond, they still have those 3. Jimmy Butler, a playoff riser, hasn't won the big one yet, but that's probably because he's been on some Heat teams that overachieved. Matt, good point about Jimmy is this is a big legacy thing, man. You win a ring, like you're cemented in a different class. And we know Jimmy Butler's a great player, but if the Warriors go through and get to the final somehow with him and maybe can pull it off, that'll do a lot for him. So Golden State was my number 4. It was your guys' number 5. But what was your guys' number 4?
On that note, I think with the Jimmy piece too, especially after all the drama of this year, and him getting out of Miami and kind of forcing that hand, I think he probably went there with an intent to, hey, we can surprise some teams. So I kind of had them between that 4 and 5. My number 4 was actually going to be the Lakers.
Okay.
Haven't watched enough Lakers games, and that's not really something I intend on changing. But I do think that the LeBron Luca combination is pretty dangerous. I do worry about a little bit of a lack of depth with them, and I think that Luca can take you so far, and obviously LeBron is a big piece in that, kind of system, obviously. But I think besides those two, it's a lot of role players, kind of like a Nuggets a little bit in terms of you got a 1-2 punch and who's going to fill in those slots a little bit more. Austin Reeves has been really, really good this
I was
year.
gonna say Reeves.
And he's been
Yeah.
kind of the third piece in that whole system. So he's looked really good. But I think especially in the playoffs, Luka's not a great defender. LeBron's 50 years old. Austin Reeves has been picked on in a lot of series and gets isolated a lot by guards, or he gets switched on to some bigs and kind of gets posted up a little bit. And then from there, I can't even hardly name many Lakers players. So, I mean, that might just be me not following up with them a whole lot because I'm a little bit of a hater. But I had them still. Obviously, you got Luka, LeBron. It's a chance, and Luka proved to us last year that, I mean, he can make a deep run. Obviously, Kyrie was a big piece in that, and the Dallas team that was built around that. But you can't count Luka out. So I had them in that conversation. It was kind of between 3 and 4 for them, but I had them at that 4. Yeah.
Matt, who's your 4?
I actually had Houston at my 4 just because I think strength of schedule left. I don't necessarily see them falling super hard. And I think Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota climbs that far up in my ranking. I think they'll probably get there. I just don't know. It's close. It's close enough with everybody. Behind the Thunder that you could.
It is kind of a jumble.
You could make a. It's a toss up. You could make a case for
So
anybody getting super hot, and you could make a case for anybody getting super cold at the end. So I've got Houston in it.
So you got I you know what, that's not a bad take at all because I think I kind of disrespected them a little, not keeping them on there. But I just the youth stuff with them, like it's going to be their first playoff battle test, and like if they're going to be the 2 seed, which they most likely will be, they're going to play a really tough opponent in the first round. So I just had a hard time seeing them get through 3 rounds to the finals. Sure. Hey, maybe I'm wrong about them.
I don't think they make it through 3, but in terms of top 5, I think they make it.
Right. Do you think they could make the finals though? Like, would that be their 4th top team to make the finals?
I mean, it would probably it'd probably be my 4th.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because of youth, I think they beat out Golden State, and that's it. In my book, I think that's it. I think that's the only reason why they beat out Golden State, and that is just because of they might be able to outlast Golden State in a running match. That's it.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Good points. Let's go to 3. Little bit more technical difficulties, but we're back and we're going to be talking about our top 3 now. All right. So you guys had you both had Golden State at 5. I had Golden State at 4. I had Minnesota at 5. For 4, Matt had the Rockets, and Kennedy had the Lakers at 4. I have the Lakers at 3. A lot of the reasons, like Kennedy said, that top heavy power Luka LeBron combo is lethal, and plus Austin Reeves, he's been playing really, really well. So I kind of buy that offense, and I kind of buy what they can do with those 3 guys. Now the concerns are obviously depth and size. Jackson Hayes through a whole playoff run doesn't sound that promising, right? But I just sort of believe in the Lakers upside a bit just because they do have like 2 of the greatest offensive minds ever. Maybe the greatest player of all time with LeBron. I know he's 40, but I have the Lakers at 3. Maybe giving them a little too much credit, but their defense has kind of fallen off a cliff also the last few weeks. So I got them at 3. Who was your guys at 3?
I had the Denver Nuggets. I wanted to put them 2. I think we'll have a similar 1. But for me, this is going to spoil who my 2 is. Can I go ahead and do that?
Yeah. No, all good. Yeah.
So I had Nuggets 2, and then I think after seeing how they've looked against a Minnesota team, after looking at how playoff seeding is going to work, possibly if the season were to end similarly to what it is now, we'd get Minnesota round 2. Probably. I think that Minnesota beats a Rockets team round 1. And they just haven't shown me that they can beat this team. And I think that Minnesota, obviously, you brought up a great point with how Randall's going to work with this team, and Randall's not been a great playoff player. But I don't know, something about Minnesota that has struck fear into many people, not even just us, but probably the Nuggets as a whole. So I had the Nuggets at 3, and I think that is a good spot for me to have them. Obviously, I would love to put them 1, but the West is good, and it could shake up in many different ways. I mean, I think any of these teams we've been talking about could easily steal a series. So I had the Nuggets at 3. I think that finishing out healthy is going to be number 1, and we need Jamal to be what we know Jamal can be. So that's why I have him at 3, and hopefully they can rise to 1.
Not a bad take, man, because you're right. If it shakes out the way that you said, yeah, you could see Minnesota get into the Western Conference Finals and then maybe having to go through OKC, but you never know, right? So I could see why that you would argue them being a 2 and the Nuggets at 3. Don't hate that. Matt, who's your 3?
Yeah, I've got the Lakers, and kind of for a different reason than you guys do. I think they're young guards, and Rui at the forward. I'm gonna point to Rui Hachimura for a second.
That small ball lineup worked against the Nuggets.
Because it
I know
worked
that.
against the Nuggets, and not only did it work against the Nuggets, Rui was incredibly efficient against the Nuggets.
He's good, man.
and
He's had a really nice season.
Yeah, he has. He's had a great season. He's a good shooter. He's a good one-on-one guy. He can make plays for you. And when you have a guy that can make plays for you that's outside of Luka and LeBron, you're going to get guys like Jackson Hayes, Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect. I mean, we've seen Dalton Connect go absolutely crazy. He doesn't have a lot of experience, but from watching him in the games that I have, there have been some big time spots that Dalton Connect has just looked,
and he's older,
cold. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, I
Yeah.
think the fact that he's kind of an older rookie,
yeah,
and he's played in big games in multiple
was
colleges.
huge in March
and
Madness last year.
yeah, that's a good point.
So
point, Matt.
so he does. I mean, he doesn't have the experience in the NBA, but he has the experience of hitting big shots. And when you have a postseason like the one that we're gonna have, with those teams, you got to hit your shots and you got to hit big shots. And I think the Lakers have that ability, and
Sure,
especially with Luka and LeBron in there as well. So
right. Okay. Fair enough. All right, fellas. I do have the Nuggets at 2. A little bit of the optimistic spin there is that this offense is still elite. Obviously, the defense is the biggest issue. The spin I have for this though is that the case for them making the finals is that Jokic and Murray are back playing at like that all-time level that they did in 23, and just trusting in Jokic being a potential top 10 player of all time. They need to stay healthy. Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson, like those are all guys that are going to have to fill a role and fill their spot, make some threes, play somewhat of solid defense to do this. But if your top 2 can go on a run that they did in 23, I know the Western Conference is better than it was now, or then. But yeah, it's sort of a little bit of an optimistic spin, but I just want to believe that Jokic and Murray can do it. So I do have them at 2, but it was kind of close though. I'm not going to lie. They were hovering on that 2-3. So we heard your reasons for Minnesota. Very valid. Matt, you might have Nuggets at 2, but who do you got?
I've got the Nuggets at 2.
Okay.
Again, close to your point, Cam, they're hovering. I want them to be middle of the pack because I think that offense is still elite, but on the other hand, you have a defense for
traffic cones.
It is, yeah. They have a hard time defending, the top 7, even 8 with the Clippers right now in the Western Conference. They're not going to go anywhere, but you have that kind of look for the Nuggets, and it's tough to put them. It's tough to put them at 1, especially with OKC.
I think with that
elite.
point too, Matt. Sorry to cut you
No,
off,
go ahead.
but I had a really good thought. Like, none of us have talked about a top 3, top 4 team, which has been the Grizzlies all year.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason behind that is the fact that their defense is like the worst in the league.
Yeah.
They're up there kind of with the Nuggets in terms of that defensive rating. So
Yeah.
I think that us being biased towards the Nuggets definitely plays a part in that. But the defense is something to be worried about.
Right. Well, we lost Cam. We've lost our host. We've been having technical difficulties all night. I don't even know if this is gonna. There he is. All right. Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. We all have OKC in
Yep.
number 1
We
spot.
Yep. Oklahoma City's all at the number 1 for very obvious reasons.
Yeah. And we'll see.
So
I think that they learned a lot last year in the playoffs, and I think that they're going to be even harder to beat this postseason.
Yep. It's got to be OKC.
He looks like he's just accepted defeat.
Yeah,
I sort of am. Are we still going?
Me and Matt have been holding it down.
Going. We've
No, you
kind
guys
of been
got it.
holding it down, but
We're recording right now.
yeah,
We're running a little 2-man right now.
I hope it's getting me because it kicked me. But
well, if it kicked you, it's gonna give me
another audio file.
7 different audio files.
Well, if we're going right now, I guess I'll just try to keep carrying along.
It just might as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, for the listeners, for the 5 people, it's been a night of hell. So we're trying to get through this. OKC's at 1. Yeah, all makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, that was our second segment. So we're gonna take a look at the upcoming 7 games for the Nuggets in their week, starting with Minnesota tomorrow. Minnesota's beat the Nuggets 5 times straight since the playoffs last year.
5 times.
5 times. Don't let it get to 9 times.
Yeah, please no.
But yeah, the last time they faced them, March 12th, they lost by 20 points. They looked awful, completely outclassed. Malone had some comments today, though. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he said the Wolves never play as hard as they do against us, which I guess one of their scouts was looking at how well the Wolves play when they're not playing the Nuggets, and apparently they just rise to the occasion for this game, which makes a lot of sense. They want this, and the Nuggets seem to just sort of take this as a regular game every time, and Minnesota doesn't. So do you guys think that this game tomorrow, will Denver take this personally, or do you think it's just going to be the same stuff, same shit?
I don't think they will.
No.
I don't think so either.
No.
It's going to suck, and we're going to have to sit in our diapers.
We're going to be miserable.
Yeah. But I think you bring up a good point with kind of what Malone was talking about. I mean, Ant, anytime he gets on the floor with a guy that's better than him, he's going to want to prove that he's the best, and he's, one of the new guys on the block. And obviously, a Rudy Gobert really takes that matchup with intent. Kind of, I mean, even when Cat was there, it was always that way. I feel like Cat and Yoke would always get after it.
Totally.
But they just have a chip on their shoulder, and they play the Nuggets super physical. I think they've found out what kind of works, and it's guarding Jamal 90 feet and making Jokic, sometimes they'll let Jokic score, or sometimes they'll let him, facilitate. But I feel like both kind of defensive mindsets for them have been effective. I remember in the playoffs we had a Jokic game when he just dropped a ton of points and we still ended up losing. And then, he puts up 25, 30 and we still end up losing because guys aren't making shots and Jamal's just a shell of himself. So obviously that's playoffs, but I think we're all a little bit scarred from that. I did hear Malone talk a little bit about kind of the matchups with Minnesota this year and how that first game was one they could have won. And that's nice to hear. That's nice to hear, but it's like they came into Denver and just took over the building. So I think that's something to be on the lookout for. I hope and would love to see them rise to that occasion. But I just don't. I'm not going to get my hopes up for tomorrow night.
Not a lot of faith in it. I agree. Matt, similar vibes. Do you feel like they're going to show up or?
Yeah, man, similar vibes for me. I don't I don't feel like they're going to show up just because if they haven't in the past, why would they right now? It's it's at home, correct? I think it is. It's here in Denver. I don't know. I don't have confidence in that. I don't have the Nuggets really showing that they can. I don't think they feel like they need to. And I think that's the problem with the Nuggets that they've had in games like this is they just don't feel like they need to. They don't wanna. It's the classic case of like a I don't wanna's, and they've had that. They've had that for a long time. They feel like they're in the playoffs right now, which they most likely are, just with an elite offense, but they have a case of the I don't wanna's, especially against Minnesota. And I think they can kind of look back on other Minnesota games and be like, yeah, we never played our best. Like we weren't really trying. We didn't care. Those were games that we didn't give a crap. And when it compiles like that, it's a mental warfare game against guys that are have a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to get rowdy, and they're going to get in your face, and they're going to get loud, and that's what the Timberwolves do, and they rattle the Nuggets every single
They
time.
do. It's almost like the Nuggets too kind of take like a approach to it, like they don't want to prove that they really care about this matchup, so they're not going to really care.
They still feel
and like
they still
the
feel
optimistic
Timberwolves.
side of me is maybe they have like a great game plan. They just don't want to show that card until the playoffs. But I think that's kind of holding on to some false hope. I think that's just a matchup that's tough for them, and I don't really see them coming out tomorrow and just going all out, because maybe there are some things that they don't want to. They kind of want to keep hidden, playing those cards for playoffs and trying to play some 4D chess. But I also don't know if that kind of willingness to like really go all out against a Minnesota team in the regular season is something that they see themselves doing or really caring to do, as you said. So I'm a little worried about tomorrow night.
Yep.
I'm back, Matt. This is gonna be hell for you later. I'm so sorry, man. I think their servers are.
It might be their servers, but I'm not gonna get it out by tomorrow morning.
No, I don't think so. It keeps telling me we're trying to reconnect to the servers.
Yeah.
I don't know, but so Minnesota's gonna be tough. The injury report already came out today. Jokic is probable with the ankle. CB is probable with the foot strain. Questionable is Jamal with the hamstring. AG is actually questionable too with the illness and calf management. Hopefully that hamstring is nothing for Jamal. He went through a full practice today. Hopefully it's just like something they're listing as like for rest purposes, like so he can manage the rest of the season. I hope that's nothing. Obviously hamstrings are really tricky. Other than that, let's just try to get through this.
Hamstring, that's
yeah. I'm getting bad vibes from that injury. I know we might talk about that a little bit, and that might be a nice segue into it. But it's giving me some flashbacks to last year. Jamal's just kind of saying
it's fine
on the injury report to get some rest, and he'll come back to the playoffs rested, and then he just came out sluggish. So, and I've pulled my hamstring many a times throughout my college years, and that's a tough one. Man. It really does. And
it makes
as soon as you think you're back, it's tough.
It makes you more injury prone for the next one.
Yeah.
And
exactly. It might hurt you in other spots.
Yeah. Well, and it it's kind of a chronic thing. Once it happens the first time, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen more because you've kind of degraded the integrity of that area of the body. Anyway, biomechanics.
Right. No, I know. I hope that's nothing. But to look at the rest of the schedule this week, the games will be missing until next show. They play San Antonio on Wednesday. Should be a win. You never know with the Nuggets, though. Friday at Golden State. That's going to be tough. And then Sunday at home versus Indiana, which is, high-scoring team. They're always going to be a tough one, too. So that's in this 4-game stretch this week, that's 3 tough ones, 1 really hard one easy one. Little prediction: I'm gonna go 2-2. I'm gonna go 2-2. Wins against San Antonio and Indiana. I think they're gonna lose at least 2 of these games, but I don't know if you guys have any little quick 4-game prediction here.
Yep. I think they go 3-1. I think they beat the Warriors.
Hey, all right.
I'm 3-1 as well.
I like it.
I don't think tomorrow night, but I think that they bounce back. I'm interested to see if Jamal and AG even play tomorrow night.
True. That's a good
point.
point.
It could be a punt, and hey, Yoke put up your triple double, but in a loss. I think San Antonio. That one freaks me out a little bit. It's a different dynamic than it was last year, late year against San Antonio, because there's no Wemby,
Right.
obviously. So
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
but I still get
Kind of easy.
some flashbacks to last year when that was like a huge game and we lost to them.
So mad, dude. I don't know.
Same.
I was really mad after Game 7.
That was probably
last
the
year.
top 5 worst Nuggets losses I think we've
Dude.
been around for.
Oh
Yeah.
my
honestly.
God,
I
I
think
was so
that
because like
that was probably top 5 worst losses. Yeah,
one
was
seed
brutal.
on the table.
horrible.
Franchise record 58 wins
Yeah,
on the table.
Yeah.
1 seed on the table, and they
And they-
fumbled it to that team.
Yeah.
Who was it? Graham. It was Graham. Yeah, that lit us up.
Devontae Graham,
Devontae Graham, bro. I was so upset. I was like, "What are you doing, bro?"
Kansas Jayhawk legend.
He came
Yeah.
to ruin the Nuggets night, dude. I think he had something against Christian. Honestly,
He must have.
Oh, might have been a little Kansas
I think
Jayhawk
he
stuff
had
there.
some Jayhawk, rock chalk Jayhawk.
That was
beef,
brutal.
honestly.
All right, so that's the 4 games this week. Little bit of playoff seeding outlook right now. Nuggets are the 3 seed. Honestly, it's looking like that's where they're going to end up. We'll see. There's still 7 games to go. They're 2 games behind the Rockets and 1 game and a half up on the Lakers. Do you guys think that Denver will catch Houston in the 2 seed? Rockets' schedule's tough, but I kind of doubt it.
I think.
I don't think they want to.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if they necessarily want to, but
They may not even want to.
I don't. I'm not gonna disregard it as a possibility. To be completely honest with
They play them last game of the season.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that might be
it
the
could be-
deciding. That could be the deciding factor game, or at least the last
Right.
3. So, the Nuggets finish it out at home, on the road, at home, on the road.
Sacramento, Memphis, Houston.
Yep. So I think that could be a toss up as well. But I think if it comes down to that away game versus the Rockets,
I think we kind of talked about this last
I think you
week too. It's like if it's the battle for the 2 seed last game and you're matched up against Minnesota,
Yeah.
in that 7.
You can
Or
control the fate a
you
little
can
bit.
control-
Maybe
yeah.
tank
Yeah.
that game if you want.
And
know?
you never know with the play-in, but I feel like Minnesota probably wins that matchup against the Kings.
Probably. And they don't want to play OKC
and
in the first
then-
round.
No.
So,
So
Minnesota.
I think it's really going to come down to that last game. So I don't really know if they'll want that matchup.
Well,
But
they won't want that matchup, and apparently we don't want to make this show tonight. So
apparently not.
we just lost Cam for the God knows 10th time probably. Did we have anything else on the docket, Bear?
I think the last thing was kind of talking about that 7-game stretch and really like who would you prefer to have in that first round in that kind of 3-6 matchup. Even that 3-6 matchup can be pretty hairy though. I mean, you end up either with like a Golden State team or even one of those teams kind of that Minnesota if they can bump it up, Memphis if they drop down. So I mean, it's all those teams are at 44, 43, 43, 43 wins from 6 through 5 through 8.
It's close.
So things can change, but the only really teams I'd be really confident playing would be like a Clippers, who they'd have to make it out of the play-in. Obviously, Sacramento and Dallas, I think, are beatable in a playoff series. But like Golden State could be, if the season ended right now, that's who we'd have. So I get flashbacks to a couple years ago when we were matched up against them, and obviously they were a little bit better back then when they ended up winning the championship. But Golden State's a scary team, and I think that's probably who we end up matching up with, depending on how things shape up. But
Yep, I agree.
I'd obviously would love a 7 through 10 seed that's not Minnesota. So we'll see.
It'd be nice. Cam's back. We just went over the 7 games left, predicting the seeding.
Yeah.
Yep. We're kind of hoping for one of those 7 through 10 teams because it's 7 through 7 through 10 teams, just because we don't really know what's on the docket, because we have teams that are within 2-3 games of each other, and there's still 6-7 games left in the
Right. I guess there's
we kind of have to, and they all play each other. They all
right. No, I was looking at the schedules.
So it's rough. It's a rough. It's kind of a rough one. So we're as Nuggets fans, we're kind of hoping to fall into that.
The Lakers have the second toughest remaining schedule. The Rockets have the 4th toughest remaining schedule. The Nuggets have the 8th toughest remaining schedule. Minnesota has the easiest remaining schedule the rest of the way, according to Tankathon.
Nice.
So
Tankathon.
it's all jumbled, man. We have no idea. My favorite or my best case scenario for the Nuggets is them actually getting the 3 seed and playing Memphis. This is me hoping that Memphis falls to 6. I think Memphis is the team that everybody kind of wants to see. I don't think anyone's really that scared of them. They just fired their coach. I would love. I think that would be the best.
I'm going to speak for Cameron.
Really
I think Memphis is in a bad spot without
Golden
their
State.
head coach anymore.
Oh,
they don't know. Their defense is pretty bad as is, and they're young.
Yep.
They're not really battle tested. So,
yeah,
that'd be, I think, preferable. I think a lot of people are kind of down on Memphis as a whole. So,
yep.
Well, on behalf of Cameron Kennedy, I think it's time that the two of us decide to call this a night.
I think we call this a night.
It's almost been about 2 hours of trying this.
Oh God,
it's been a pleasure.
It is a pleasure, K-Bear.
Shout out to super producer Matt, who's the one that actually has to wait for all of Cameron's uploads. So
I'm gonna wait until tomorrow night to do that.
Yeah,
so
as you should.
This episode will come out a day late. Sorry, not sorry. It takes a while, and I'm not staying up till 2:00 in the morning.
No.
So
follow us on our socials. I'm trying to do the Cameron pitch. Check out our Instagram, our TikTok, YouTube. We're also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So we have shows once a week with short film kind of posted throughout the week. Feel free to check us out, subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Say who your favorite host is. It's definitely not Cameron tonight.
Definitely not Cameron tonight. Yep. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.